Well, today we're going to talk about tone controls, which most people don't use on their guitars because they don't sound very good. When you turn it down, it usually decreases your volume and makes you sound like you're playing underwater. Most people don't have a use for a sound like that. The reason for that is the value of tone capacitor, the capacitor that's used. The capacitor is a filter, and it's run across in the circuit to work as a filter of the signal. So if you have one that's very heavy or a high value, let's say like Fender uses an 05, you choke off all the sounds. So you go from, let's say, to, so it decreases your volume, and it's not a useful sound. And so most people never use them. They just keep them up all the way. Look at the difference in volume there. Is it twice as much volume with the tone control all the way up, and the tone is better. So, like I said, few people will ever utilize the tone control. The reason I'm interested in this is because I found a way to make the tone control sound good so that you can get 5 more sounds out of your Stratocaster or 3 more sounds out of your Telecaster just by changing the filter capacitor in the circuit to a much more useful value, which filters less than the original one. It allows more signal to pass, you get more volume, and you get a nice fat, kind of compresses the signal and gives you a fat kind of warm tone. So I'm going to show you a Stratocaster that I did that to. I just purchased this Stratocaster today. It's an ordinary, very nice Mexican Strat, and it had the stock tone circuit, and I've modified it. In fact, it was wired like the old Fender guitars of the 1950s and 60s, where the rear pickup isn't even wired into this knob. Usually on the old guitars, this one, this pickup, the neck pickup, all the way forward on your switch, would be wired into that tone control, and the middle one here and the lead one would be wide open. This tone control did not affect it at all. It was not engaged. You couldn't engage it. So I've wired it so that the rear pickup is now wired into the tone circuit, and changed the filter capacitor, and it'll give you an idea what that sounds like. Okay, that's your normal Fender sound. Now when you turn my tone control down, you get this sound. And so now you effectively have 5 new tones out of you get 10 sounds out of this guitar. I'll give you an example, the lead pickup. Okay, turn it down. Works for all 5 positions. Now, for many years, people were saying, how can I fatten my Strat? And they'd go out and spend, let's say, $500 installing 3 new pickups, and in the process maybe lose some of their original Fender sound and get a fatter tone, but they still had a tone control that was 2 knobs on their guitar that were worthless. So now, for a lousy $60, I can do that to any Stratocaster, Les Paul, SG, and I do Tellies for $50 because they're even easier to do, because it's simpler to get into a Telly than it is a Strat. So I can give you, I can give you 10 sounds instead of 5 new sounds out of for $60 out of your Stratocaster. Tone control down. Middle pickup. You get a new tone and without a huge drop off in volume. Maybe lose 10% of the volume. That's going to happen with a little bit of filtering. And that's how the Mike Van Voorhees tone control modification works.